Hey guys, welcome to another tier ranking. Welcome to my tier ranking for the X-Men movies and television shows. I think a while back, I think when like Deadpool, the first Deadpool movie came out, I did an X-Men ranking, and I thought maybe I should just, fuck it, do another one. They're remaking or not remaking. They're making a sequel to the animated television show of X-Men this year, so that's really exciting stuff. And honestly, X-Men is something I always grew up with. I grew up with the comic books, I grew up with the television series, and I even grew up with the movies and stuff. So X-Men has always meant something very dear to me, very close to me. So I thought I'd do a tier ranking of all the movies and shows that I have seen. I'd love to include video games, but I haven't played any of the video games, and there's not really a lot. Excited for the Wolverine game that's coming out, though. But these are all the movies and shows I've seen, and even like the spin off movies that isn't, quite X Men, but still connected to the X Men universe, like the Deadpool and the New Mutants and stuff. So let's get started. And again, this is all my opinion. And the S tier is the best, F is the worst. So let's get started. All right, I'm gonna start with the movies first, then I'm gonna go to the television shows after, because there's not really many shows. So let's start with the X-Men movie that started it all, the very first X-Men. Solid B movie. It would be like a B minus for me. It was really good. It was game changing, that movie. So yeah, this movie was game changing when it came out, and it brought the X-Men to the live action form. Like seeing Hugh Jackman as Wolverine and Cyclops and Charles Xavier on the big screen was incredible. When I was a kid, this was amazing, immaculate to see, but yeah, it was just incredible. But now watching it now in 2023, I haven't watched it in 2023, but I watched it about a year and a half ago. It's still good. It just isn't great. They do a lot of things wrong. They change a lot of things from the show and change a lot of things from the comics. There's some very dated CGI, some very dated action scenes. There's a lot of corniness and silliness. There's some things that just make no sense. They basically destroy the character of Rogue in this movie. Like, this is not Rogue at all. Like, absolutely not at all. This ain't Rogue. Like, fuck no. Like, that's the biggest thing these X-Men movies did, is they destroyed Rogue as a character and stuff. And just I was so disappointed that they never brought Gambit in and everything. There's so many characters. They didn't have the yellow spandex. There's a lot of things that just don't work in the movie, but it's still good and it's still a B tier movie. Then X2 is also a B. It's a higher B. It's more like a B, B plus. Opening was so good with Nightcrawler. What a kick-ass way to open the movie. The stuff about Wolverine's past, Hugh Jackman really steals the whole movie. He's fantastic. The mansion scene where he's like fucking up all the guards of Stryker and stuff. Brian Cox's Stryker was really good. There's just things that the movie does drag. It's a very long movie. There's some boring elements to it. The stuff with Bobby and him lying to his parents isn't that interesting. The stuff with Magneto is cool and stuff, but then there's like a whole scene with Charles Xavier and his mind's getting messed with an old student of his, and honestly, that's also not that interesting. There's a lot of really uninteresting parts, but every scene with Nightcrawler, every scene with Stryker and Wolverine and Magneto, those were always the big standouts. The action scenes were good. I love that they brought Lady Deathscythe in this movie. She was really sweet, but really good movie. Not amazing though. X-Men 3: Lost Stand is dog shit. I fucking hate this movie. I really can't stand it. Hugh Jackman is the only thing that is good. Hugh Jackman is the only thing that is good in this movie. Even Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen are like sleepwalking their way through this fucking movie. The action's terrible. The visuals are terrible. The one-liners are stupid. Actually, sorry, Hugh Jackman and Kelsey Grammer. Kelsey Grammer's Beast was shockingly good. The action sucked. All the new characters they introduced was stupid. They did the Dark Phoenix story in a horrible way. Like, this is not the Dark Phoenix story done properly. Um, Another Dark Phoenix movie makes it shittier, but just a terrible movie. And how they kill some of the characters off is just ridiculous. Just, yeah, that's fucking terrible. Then they're like, hey, let's do a prequel movie about Wolverine. Yeah, so Wolverine. That sounds interesting, right? All right, I just added a jump cut because I realized I forgot X-Men Origins Wolverine on this. Oh God, forgive me. I'm only to err is to human, and this is a big error. This movie is an error. The existence of this movie is an error. Error of judgment. This movie is fucking god awful. And not only does like almost destroy Wolverine as a character, but it destroys Gambit, Deadpool, Blob, all these like very old school mutants, Emma Frost. Like it destroys characters. It gets everything wrong. Like everything wrong. Luckily, Hugh Jackman's performance and Liev Schreiber's performance is so good, but it's such a bad movie. It it looks like visual effects from the 90s. The action is embarrassing. Just everything in this movie is just done wrong. But the Deadpool one, like just everybody knows what they did to Deadpool in this movie. Absolutely unforgivable. And yeah, it's a dog shit movie. Complete dog shit. But then they decided, hey, that prequel didn't work. Let's just do a prequel about the X-Men and Xavier and Magneto. And they gave us First Class. And First Class was great. What a fucking great movie. Matthew Vaughn did a great job directing this movie. McAvoy and Fassbender are great. The new cast, with the exception of Jennifer Lawrence, is all really good. Um, I just really like the story of Charles Xavier and how he met Magneto and Magneto hunting down these like people who killed his mother and stuff, all to get to Shaw, who's played awesome by Kevin Bacon. Really great movie. It's just a really good story with really good characters, and it just feels like X Men. And yeah, it was when at the time when it came out, it was the best X Men movie I saw. It was so fucking good. Then they went back to like the original characters, and Hugh Jackman got his movie again, the Wolverine. And I'm gonna be the one to say it. I think the Wolverine is underrated. I think it's very good. Honestly, I'd put it in the A tier if the third act was better. The third act is pretty shit. Feels like a studio movie in the third act. First two acts are really good. Hugh Jackman is so good in this movie. I love like a samurai story in future Wolverine. I love the girl characters. What her name is? Yuki. I think her name is Yue or whatever. The samurai girl and the daughter who he kind of has a relationship with. I love those characters. They're great. And I love Hugh Jackman in this movie. I love that this movie gets, even though it's PG-13, it gets very bloody for a PG-13 movie. You could tell James Mangold was trying to make this movie an R-rated film, but the studio did not want an R-rated Wolverine movie. Well, not yet. But I dig this movie. I think it's got a great score. It's a good story, and I think it's underappreciated. The third act sucks, but the rest of the movie is great. And then we return to the first class cast with Days of Future Past, which was also really good. I think the time travel stuff kind of is a little jumbled. It doesn't make fully sense, and I don't think Fassbender and McAvoy were as strong in this movie as they were in First Class, but they were still good. Jennifer Lawrence has way too much screen time in this movie. She almost single-handedly destroys a lot of the movie. But Hugh Jackman's great, and him interacting with McAvoy and Fassbender is really great. Seeing Quicksilver was really good. All the stuff that's taking place in the dystopian future is the standouts. The Sentinels and the X-Men dying and stuff, and then like traveling through time to stop them. All that is great. I actually wish the whole movie was that. Actually, is the post-apocalyptic future of them fighting the Sentinels and stuff. I think that's the best part of the movie. But the time travel stuff of Wolverine trying to, stop Trask and designing the Sentinels and stuff. All that's really good too. It's a good story, and the cast is really strong. It's just I think there's too much mystique in the movie. So yeah. And then Apocalypse. Apocalypse is not very good. Not very good at all. Apocalypse is a really great villain in the comics. He has done horribly in this movie. Um, I think Fassbender is like completely checked out in this movie. Jennifer Lawrence is also checked out, even though I don't think she ever checked in. I think McAvoy is the only good thing in this movie. I think he's very good. All the new cast playing Jean and Cyclops and Nightcrawler, I think they all are pretty terrible. Jubilee's in the movie too. She's terrible. Quicksilver again is probably also one of the the only good ones. There's just a lot of story elements doesn't even add up. It doesn't connect properly to Days of Future Past and First Class and even the first X-Men movie. So it just kind of makes not a lick of sense. And yeah, it's a pretty bad movie. But Dark Phoenix was worse. It was the send off to the new cast of the X-Men, and this is the worst send off ever. It basically did the Dark Phoenix story again. Last Stand did it terrible, but this one did it even worse. That's all I gotta say. I've talked about this a lot. Then Logan came. It was his own movie. I guess you could kind of call it like a sequel to the Wolverine, but it's kind of like its own standalone movie, and it's fucking incredible. Everyone knows how I feel about Logan. I've done whole reviews about Logan. I've talked about Logan a lot. Logan is an amazing film because not only it's not just like a good X-Men kind of movie and just a good comic book movie, but it's just a good movie in general. It's a good Western. It's a good action movie. It's a good dramatic story. Patrick Stewart and Hugh Jackman are both amazing in this film, and it's just a fantastic film. It's not even just like a good X-Men movie. It's just a good movie. And yeah, S tier. And Deadpool. The first Deadpool is good. I loved it when it came out, like because it was I always wanted to see Deadpool and like a Deadpool movie, but I just never thought we would get it, and we did, and it was fucking amazing. It kind of loses its steam after watching it a bunch. I've seen the movie like 9 or 10 times. Ryan Reynolds is still great. Marina Baccarin is still fantastic. Their chemistry is really good together. The action still is good. The comedy is still very strong. It's just some of the breaking the fourth wall. It really wears off. There is some scenes that get less funny, more annoying and stuff. But I still think for the low budget that they had, I still think it's a huge accomplishment, and I still think Deadpool is a good movie. Deadpool 2, on the other hand, is just it's okay. I think Deadpool again. Ryan Reynolds is good, and I actually like Josh Brolin as Cable. I think the villain kind of sucks. I think everything else is. I feel like it tried to go more bigger and more crazy, and for the most part, it kind of works in some, but kind of doesn't. I don't know. It's not very watchable too. Like I said, I've seen the first Deadpool movie like 9 or 10 times. I've seen this movie twice. I never ever have an interest to watch it again. It just doesn't like always. It just doesn't have that feeling like, oh, I gotta watch Deadpool 2 again. So I don't know. And then there was the New Mutants, a spin-off horror movie that also wasn't very good. just swing and a miss, and it sucks because Anya Taylor-Joy's in it, and I'm a big fan. And now these are the X-Men shows I've seen. I'm going to talk about the 90s one. Obviously, it's an S tier. I think it's the perfect X-Men series. I think it's the perfect show, movie, or anything that's just X-Men. Like Wolverine, Cyclops, Jean, Storm, even Jubilee, Rogue, Professor X, Magneto, Apocalypse, the Sentinels, Beast. All the characters are just done beautifully in this show. The music's great, the action's great, the animation, even though it's old, still works really well. It tackles a lot of great stories and stuff, and just it's amazing. There's a reason why this show still holds up to this day. It's been over 20 years, and people still talk about it and still praise it. It's because the show is that good. So yeah. And then there's one that I feel like more people need to watch. X-Men Evolution, which is an A tier. I think X-Men Evolution is a show I grew up with, actually, because it came out in the early 2000s, and I was like a young teenager. Like it came out when I was like 11, and I watched it when I was like 11, 12, 13, and I loved it. I still love it. I still think it's so good. I think it actually does a lot of things better than this show, but it also does things that are worse, and there's things that weren't needed. And there's also, because the X-Men are much younger, it's basically the X-Men in high school and stuff. So there is corny melodrama, but there's also a lot of great moments and a lot of great character arcs and character interactions, and the way they do some of the character arcs is so good. The way they did Nightcrawler and Shadowcat and Rogue in the show was so unique. It's the first show that I actually really liked Cyclops. I always thought Cyclops was a very boring character, but he's really good in the show. And the only one they kind of make uninteresting is actually, believe it or not, Wolverine, who's usually the most interesting in all the shows and movies. But you know what? I like that too. It's a flaw, but also a praise because it gives more characters more time to shine, not just Wolverine. Wolverine got his own show, Wolverine the X-Men, which was okay. I watched like 10 episodes and just, I don't know, didn't really pique my interest. There's some cool action and animation. I can see why people like it. It was okay. Then there's the Astonishing X-Men, the Joss Whedon one. It was okay as well. And there we go. There's my tier ranking for the X-Men. Putting them in order. Just out of sheer iconic, I'm gonna have to put the show then Logan, but Logan is amazing though. And again, I'm gonna put the show then First Class in the A tier. Have that. For the B tier, I'm gonna go X2, The Wolverine, Days of Future Past, Deadpool, First X-Men. C tier, I'm gonna go, yeah. Then the New Mutants and Apocalypse. Oh God. And Last Stand, what is Wolverine, Dark Phoenix. There we go. So that was my tier ranking for the X-Men movies. Let me know in the comments below, what is your favorite X-Men movie and television show? Let me know. Comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like this video, please like and subscribe to this channel and join the dark side.